Titleist is the number one ball in golf. Yes, being number one is a number, and more players trust the Pro V1 or Pro V1X than all other golf balls combined. But being number one is more than a number. It's a mindset. It's a relentless mission to design and manufacture the best performing golf balls in the game, so you can chase whatever your number one is. Titleist, the number one ball in golf.
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid, so it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 92 of Playing from the Tips, the preview and tipping podcast presented by Golf Australia magazine, where we cover all things going on in the world of golf and try and offer up the occasional winner and interesting tidbit as well as completely uninteresting ones. Jimmy Emanuel here as we reflect on the ISPS Honda Australian Open and prepare to continue the Challenger PGA Tour of Australasia season, head to the Islands for Tigers event, visit South Africa and wrap the Asian Tour season in Saudi Arabia. Joining me to do that is a man who, like Mike Wan at the helm of the LPGA, continues to build the quality, output and ambience of Sydney podcast studios. I speak, of course, of Rod Morey. Rod, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, we were just talking
like Mike
about...
Wan, are you going to move on to like another...
Depends what opportunities open up. Like, you never know what's going to happen.
Australian podcast studios? That would be the same...
That makes sense.
Yeah.
My goal would be to have a complex of studios, like a warehouse with 4 or 6 studios all separate in a big central area with a table and a kitchen where people could socialise and just have it go 24/7. Don't you reckon that'd be great?
Yeah, fantastic.
A lot of people have suggested you've already got a complex. Moving on.
A nice big kitchen for you to put your instant coffee in. And
That's exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Huge instant coffee. Like
international roast, the big tin. If anybody's wondering, that's what goes on here at SBS.
It's one of those things from Costco.
If doing live radio taught me anything last week, you need to say international roast more often to try and get a free drop here at Sydney Podcast Studios. Next, he took a seat in the media centre last week, yet created zero media. He's suffering a back injury from strenuous work.
I recorded this podcast from the media centre.
Yeah, well, anyway.
That was Tuesday.
Of course, I welcome back, even though I wasn't here to be on that podcast with him last week, Adrian Logue. Logue, welcome.
Thank you, I guess.
This is my new favourite Logue thing, where I told him he wasn't welcome in the media centre last week, and it created him into quite a
How was it last week between you two? You would have been pretty busy, Jimmy.
I was fractionally busy, yes.
Sort of running the media centre. You were doing the commentary on the radio. About the only thing you didn't do was play.
Yeah, absolutely. I hit 3 shots in a simulator before the final round for the radio stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, you weren't quite as insufferable as I thought you were going to be.
Insufferable?
Yeah.
I didn't actually know the radio was on. I would have listened to it. I think it gets good numbers, doesn't it? Like internationally, especially the radio, because if it's overnight somewhere else, people listen to it in bed or that sort of thing. If I'd known it was on, I would have listened to it more, but I didn't realise.
Particularly in the era of AirPods, because people have got them in their pockets, so people on the golf course can just throw them in. You don't need to give away the little headpieces
on the
anymore.
golf course is the best thing. That idea works. So when you've got radio commentary and you're out on the golf course, then you know where you want to head, who you want to see. It's a really good way.
It's always funny when you walk past someone and they point at their ears and then point at you and give you a thumbs up. That's always good stuff. Other than that, last week, reflections on last week, the event, the winners, everything like that. There was also action in Qatar, but I think Australian Open took the majority of the headlines and focus.
I think it did, and rightly so. You were down there, Logue. What did you think?
You know, the conditions were a little bit disappointing. Just nothing can be done about it. They worked extremely hard.
Weather.
It was all weather. Like, they worked extremely hard to prepare those golf courses, and Kingston Heath looked absolutely magnificent, but it was playing soft, and that was a little bit disappointing. But the event still had an exciting vibe about it. Melbourne crowds come out to watch, and
they know their golf. They're good crowds in that sense. No mashed potato and any of that.
No,
proper golf.
Incredibly important to have our big tournaments on our best courses, and that's what we've done. We've had the opportunity to do. Whether this format can continue, I don't know. I think sentiment seems to be turning. Sentiment seems to be turning against this format from within and without.
From all angles.
Yeah.
It's got its issues. The format's not the problem. It's the schedule. You cannot schedule a dual event and get the best for both fields. It's not possible. The way the women's schedule works internationally and the way the men's schedule works internationally, you're always going to have that problem. There's always the barrier.
I think that's part of it for some people. I think for a lot of the punters, you wouldn't have that as the issue. I think a lot of the punters would have a different view on why maybe they do not like it or do. There is a lot of people who don't. There's quite a number that do as well. There's people, I've seen more of the feedback than probably more people.
Sure.
So there is some that definitely enjoy it. The schedule is part of it. The way you send out the fields and everything like that, and the questions people raise about how you set up the golf courses, which I think have been pretty firmly pushed back on by a lot. I think there's all sorts of things. It's the right idea, maybe, in terms of it showcases what the sport's supposed to be in Golf Australia's idea of sport for all. And there's other financial implications and everything like that. It makes sense, but
it's all good for national championships.
Correct.
I think, Jenny, it worked fabulously for the Vic Open. You can understand, and I give full credit to Golf Australia for trying it. You must not bash these people for getting it wrong when they've had a crack, and it was rightly lauded and been watched really with great interest as how it would unfold with the mixed formats for an Australian Open. I think ultimately common sense says it's not working at the moment, whether it can again. But I know the implications you're talking about, Jimmy, with tournaments and sponsors and those kinds of things. James Sutherland told us last year, the year before, remember, on this very podcast the week after the Australian Open, that's what the market wants to buy. That's our point of difference as golf. We can offer sponsorship of both men and women. And that's a great selling point in a marketplace. But I think the problem for Golf Australia is how do you then make sure that both fields and both tournaments stand out enough?
And the format has improved significantly, like the reduction to just a one cut now, and I think giving the women the opportunity to take the stage earlier in the day on Sunday, I think is a positive thing as well. So, the format and the numbers of the field, I think, are much better now as well. Overall, the format's been tweaked in all the right ways. So what we're seeing, and the courses are the best courses we could be playing this on. So, it's been tweaked in all the right ways, and we're seeing potentially the best form of this combined Open. But whether it's now it's fair to judge it perhaps. And
as I said, there's things to be critical of, but Golf Australia should be applauded for giving it a go. Absolutely, they should be. And I think they've shown a path where it can only get better. That product, no matter where it's played in the future, is better for the experimenting that Golf Australia has done in the last couple of years. So.
Yeah, and probably in terms of had we had 2 Australian winners and hot sunny days for the entire week, it'd change the conversation a little bit. But we'd get 2 worthy winners, as you always do at a national.
Excited about Riggs.
Big Slick, who isn't?
I
watched him play an entire 18 holes on Saturday. And there's a lot about him. There's he walked around playing the biggest event of his life he's in contention in. Like he was just playing Saturday knock around with his mates. It was just whatever. The only time the switch kind of flipped a little bit was down 14 where he had all sorts of trouble and made a double. And it looked like the golf course was finally going to get him because he hadn't prepared to play sandbelt golf. He didn't know what he was doing. But there was a lot about him that really impressive. And then Jia Shin was just Jia Shin. She just ground the field in the ground. Ashby High tried on Sunday, had a little push, and that would have been amazing, 3-time winner, but 2 putts, 17 and 18, that just didn't go in that probably should have, and we maybe have a different story. But
a lot of wind went out of everybody's sails early on Sunday when GA hauled it from the sand over there.
Correct. It's hard to bounce back from something.
A flying start, big stumble, and then just put the foot down. And after 5 holes, was like, okay, wow, this is what happened here.
Yep.
And an incredible sense of she's not going to mess this up.
No.
When GI's standing over the ball, it's just,
you don't win 64 times.
What's it going to take for her to hit it sideways?
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
Such a special talent. We don't appreciate her enough in Australia or anywhere in the world because she plays on the Japan Tour. If she played on the LPGA, she'd be way higher than her world ranking says.
Oh,
way
absolutely,
higher.
Absolutely.
Well, she did. Yeah, she was. That's
I think she's probably more appreciated here than she is probably anywhere else outside of Korea and Japan.
Such a great. She reminds me in some ways of Laura Davies, who just does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Yep. So GA comes down here and plays golf because it's the right thing to do and it's enjoyable as well. But she reminds me of Laura Day, just a great ambassador in that way, without the same sense of humour, obviously, as Laura.
Hooked into a meat pie immediately after winning.
I saw that.
You like to see that. Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
She wouldn't have got it from the media centre, though. There was
no
meat pies in the media centre.
Did that not get sorted out at all during the week? Wow. Jimmy.
Yes, we don't have food in there because
Were
anyway.
there Magnums?
No, they haven't been Magnums.
Are
for
you sure
years.
you're in the media centre?
They haven't been.
It sounds like you might have been somewhere else.
It's been a long time since you've been to a golf
Meat pies and
tournament,
Magnums
hasn't it?
was the standard fare in media centres in Australia for decades.
Yes. Anyway.
Usually party pies, little ones.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway. You don't get them at pretty much any media centre anymore, that kind of thing. Anyway, 3 top 10s for us last week. No wins, 30 wins for the year, 167 for the year in terms of top 10s, which, as Rod knows, is better than any podcast that plans on finishing its year next week and leads its coverage with Australian golf.
Are you sure about that?
I'm 100% sure.
I'll double check.
Yeah, we'll go through. We'll run the data. But anyway, and Australian golf that we are leading with, we lead with the Victorian PGA Championship this week. Played at Moonah Links in Victoria. Moonah Links, of course, the purpose-built Australian Open venue. 2 golf courses, the Legends and the Open. Open course was designed by Peter Thompson, Mike Woolveridge, and Ross Perrott. That's the primary host venue this week, but they do use both because it's a pro-am format. So first couple of days across both, then they moved to the Open course that was designed to play host to the Australian Open. Ross Perrott on his own designed the Legends course, big wide rolling fairways. It's sort of linksy style golf down there, and
wonderful dune golf, isn't it?
Yeah, big dunes, big bunkering, and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty good fun golf.
It's fabulous. The Legends course down there is beautiful. The Open is a brute. I think Thompson called it a Leviathan, didn't he, when he designed it?
Yeah, it was too hard for himself, he said.
Yeah.
And the Legend course has a little bit more interesting bunkering, and
it's more fun. It's more sporty.
Yeah,
it's a real test of execution. The Open course, you've got to be able to hit it where you're looking and a long way in the air, preferably. But the other one's a bit more fun for all sorts of golf. Sorry, Jimmy.
Former grazing land down on the Mornington Peninsula. There, it's
Cups country.
Cups country, exactly right. And wind is the big story. If the wind doesn't blow, they can play the Open course. If the wind blows, good luck to the amateurs.
Well, that 17th hole at the Open course might be the most difficult golf hole I think I've ever played. Par 3, it's about 190 odd metres, I think, across a valley at the most exposed part of the course, the wind howling in and a green that sits offset to you that's got nowhere to land it. You're standing there with a 3-wood or a 2-iron wondering, where is this going? What's going to happen here? Brutal hole.
Robert Allenby had to get his arm massaged for about 5 minutes before he was ready to tee off there on the final round.
Possibly, when he do it to you, make you shake.
Yeah.
And one of these ones where the holes are named after former champions. They've got it at Sandhurst as well. There's a course there with PGA Championship winners. This has got Australian Open Championship winners. So you've got the 6th is Arnold Palmer, 7th is Jack Nicklaus, and all that sort of stuff. So as I mentioned,
John Morse.
I don't know if there's a John Morse. I wonder if they'll
be a Riggs Johnson.
If they built a spare hole, maybe they could make it the Riggs Johnson spare hole.
What they should do is just make the 18th a rotation. When you win the Australian Open, the 18th hole is named after you for the following year.
Yeah,
nice. I like that.
It works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the meeting rooms at the Australian Golf Centre. They've
been named after
major championship rotators.
Yeah, but they stay the same.
Yeah.
The field, in terms of, as I mentioned, it's a pro-am, so it's a larger field. David Micheluzzi, without doubt, the headliner. He's a very big supporter of this event, loves the event, plays with one of the AFL players down there and has won the pro-am section. So he's going to stay in Victoria and go down and play that one. His fellow Order of Merit winner, Jake McLeod, another of the names, and then you got a list of all the winners. So Jack Buchanan, who's won twice this season already, Cameron John, Matt Griffin, guys like Ben Eccles, you'd expect to play well down there, given he's Victorian and sort of very experienced with that sort of golf. Dan Lawson has played last week and he's going to play this week. He's been playing in Asia all year and playing pretty decent. He had a little bit of a back injury. I was talking to him last week that he thought was soreness, but it's a bit more significant.
Good player, and one of those players that just needs an opportunity. He's at that level there. If you just get an opportunity, you could be a regular DP World Tour player, you would think.
Yeah, absolutely. Among the tournament invitations, Anthony Quayle feels like he should play well in an event like this. Jasper Stubbs gets an invitation, even though his category will change off the back of he had a magnificent week last week, just missed an open spot. He and Harrison Crowe were sort of the standout of the younger Aussies. Tyler McCumber from America back in town. Connor McDade gets an invite. So there's a lot of players who can play in this. Amateurs that stand out. Brendan Favola. He's, AFL player, former AFL player, radio host.
Try Logue.
Yeah, it's that sort of a lot of Melbourne celebrities, let's call them that way, but a lot of people who support golf around this country as well. So Dylan Alcott as well, who played in the Pro-Am last year, he's going to be there, and guys like Zach Rad, who is the WAPGA sponsor. So a lot of those sort of people in there. Sue Wooster is also one of the amateurs.
She's a member at the National.
She's a member of the National.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And
+6, I think her handicap was
like
when I
that.
interviewed her. +6 at the age of 53, I think she was. It was just extraordinary.
It's not that old.
+6 is a long, long way
I
away.
know you won a monthly medal a little while ago.
A lot of people can be 53. Not many people can get to +6.
So, who do we think was going to win this one? Logue, we'll start with you and a very obvious pick, I imagine.
I'm glad you started with me, Jimmy, because I'm going to take David Micheluzzi off the board. That's
Well,
it.
you don't take him off the
No,
board.
you're not allowed
That's
to pick
not-
him now. No, that's the rule. Not allowed to pick him.
You both tipped Tanner Green last week. Without me
Is he
here, the
allowed to be
commissioner.
our thought tip?
Yeah, sure.
You can think of it, but you can't name it.
I'm sure you thought of it.
Yeah,
It goes without saying.
Although Micheluzzi's used up all of his putts for the year with that outrageous
with that world record.
thing that
Guinness
he-
Book of World Record holder.
That's amazing. Was it a deliberate thing? Was it set up to be a...
Yeah, it was like a
Had a
world
record
record
attempt?
attempt, but they weren't sure if it had actually broken it, I don't think. He didn't know until he was told last week, I think it was, early in the week or the week before, that they were like, oh, so we've had it confirmed. It's actually...
Was it 134 yards or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Like a 9
Remarkable.
iron.
Wasn't it the swimmer that held the record before that?
This is outside of competition. Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps,
at
yeah.
St
Michael
Andrews.
Phelps
hole
at St
one,
Andrews.
Double greens about
But
100
yeah, outside of competition,
Right.
this is it. But the best part about the video is, and go and watch it, he hits it and immediately is like, oh, this
This has got a
good.
chance.
And then it's tumbling down all these hills and it's halfway up the green. It's still got a slope to go over it. And he goes, this is the one. And it just takes it perfectly. Unremarkable.
Yeah.
Now, Rod, your tip?
I'm actually going to go with Jasper Stubbs. I was incredibly impressed with him on Sunday. I thought he held up really well in what must have been a real pressure situation. Yeah, that'll be good for him. I can see that carrying into a second week. He'll be at home down there as well, down on the courses, down at the National.
Seems like
right
a
down
real
there.
deal.
He does. I think
Developing nicely.
Turning pro, I think it was a lot of pressure after what he did as an amateur, and went straight from Japan to WA and not much sleep and all that sort of stuff. Just needed a little bit of time to get into it. Very much benefited last week again from having Simon Clark caddy for him, who caddied for him at the Asia Pacific Amateur when he won.
All of those experiences, particularly in the fields at the PGA and the Australian Open, are absolutely critical for those young
It's a
blokes.
validating performance.
Well, just to see where you're at, what do you need to work on? I mean, how many times a year is Jasper Stubbs, if he's in Australia, going to get to see Cam Smith up close or Mark Leishman or Lucas Herbert? Once you get to a certain level,
Well,
they're the only people you're learning from. You're not
he's good enough. He'll see them a lot
Agreed.
more. So
Yeah, that's right. I think you'll get there, but I was impressed with him on Sunday. I thought he did really well.
Nice. I'm going to go a bit left of field because you two have taken two of the very obvious ones off the table, and apparently we can't tip the same person. I did think about David Micheluzzi, but I'm going to go with James Gibellini, who had a couple of good rounds last week and is a really good player in windy sort of conditions. So I think he is going to be my guy this week.
That'd be good to watch, that tournament.
Yeah, it is good to watch. Yeah, absolutely. We move along, and I mentioned off the top, Tigers tournament this week. The Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. Not Rod. Logue, you're our Bahamas resident expert. Tell us all about it.
I've never been to the Bahamas, but yes,
I believe you got a bank account there, though.
the Hero World Challenge, sponsored by Hero Motor Corp, which is we've covered Hero Motor Corp before, but
Biggest manufacturer of motorcycles in the world?
there's a lot of caveats to that.
Oh, okay.
They're the largest manufacturer of motorcycles and scooters. I think the scooters is a considerable contribution there in terms of unit volume sold by a single company in a year. But they've achieved that for the past 20 years, apparently.
Right. A bit like this podcast.
Yeah,
It is, exactly. They've managed to, they call it Texas sharpshooting or something, where you put a circle around where all your bullets went.
Right.
So, anyway, it's played at Albany in the Bahamas and has been the home to this tournament since 2015. That's an Ernie Els design, a Links style layout, which I'm always a bit suspicious of. Like maple style sauce.
That could be someone who actually
maple style
respects
syrup.
what Links golf is and knows that it can't be a Links
Links.
golf course. It's
Well,
not
gives you an
Links. So
indication of what it looks
you
like.
say it's a Links style. I've tried to imitate it while knowing that I can't create it.
Sure, okay.
I won't have you
Well,
slander
they've imitated
Ernie.
it with a lot of water features, which is, just resonates Links to me.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's got 5 par 3s, 5 par 5s, which I think is the best feature of the course. I think that's the way to do a course.
Yeah,
5 par
I'll-
3s, 5 par 5s, and 10 par 4s. I think that's the way to go. 8 par 4s.
Even 6, 6, and 6, like Cogra used to be, was always good.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah.
No, there was a player there one year. The Cogra Golf Club started with a par 5, par 4, par 3. A guy started once with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
Ace the 6th or whatever it was.
Oh,
for
you
the
just
one.
walk off, wouldn't you?
Of course you would. You're not going anywhere. You give the game up.
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Unless you can reset that pattern and have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 again. That's the only way to go from there. This season, like the silly season events, this probably should be a silly season event, and yet it earns world ranking points.
Oh, I can hear Hazy seething from here. This is an annual rant of his.
And I think to its detriment, it's just a 20-person 4-round stroke play event, which
and not
I
even a
can't,
good 20-person field anymore.
I can't
the field
think
is
of a
very different to what it used to
a
be.
more boring format for the silly season. So I used to look forward to these, the skins games and skills tests and celebrity challenges and even the shark shootout was something a little bit different.
It's not called that anymore.
Just seeing players, what is it? Franklin Templeton. It's just interesting seeing players in a different context, and we don't get that with 4 rounds stroke play, and especially a pretty limited.
It's funny you should say that because I was thinking the same thing about the
limited
Nedbank, but we'll come to that a bit later.
Okay. Defending champ is Scotty Scheffler. Interestingly, a little fun fact: this is his first appearance since the President's Cup, which seems like forever ago.
It was forever ago. Was it September?
Yeah.
It's a long time. It's a long time not to play golf.
Tiger Woods is still on the sideline. But, so there's some notables in the field. So Tiger's not playing, but Scheffler, as I said. Ludwig is playing, Tom Kim in the field, Patrick Cantlay, Thigala, Akshay Bhatia. Keegan Bradley, I think, has sort of become a marquee player again.
He's the Ryder Cup captain.
Only Australian in the field, Jason Day. It's good to see, it isn't as strong a field as we've seen in this event when it's just a sort of a complete invitational of all Tigers mates, but some players good to see who've earned their way into the field in a sense. You've got Aaron Rye, Bob McIntyre and Nick Dunlap, I think, are interesting entrants. Justin Thomas is also playing for the first time since becoming a father. So
Perspective.
He'll get the perspective bump.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah.
Yep.
Watch him this week. I didn't know that. I might have to change my tip now.
We'll see what happens there. My tip, having said all that, is going to be Ludwig Aubert. Is what I'm going with at the moment for a pronunciation. Ludwig Aubert. He seems to have recovered okay from his knee surgery, and he'll be eager to.
I thought of him.
Eager to play.
I thought of him. He wasn't my tip, but I did think of him. So
Good thought of pick, Rod.
Yep.
TOP, thought of pick.
Nice. I like that. All right, Rod, your tip?
I'm going with Aaron Rye, just because I'd love to see it. It would be such a huge surprise. He's a much better player than we give him credit for, too.
Very good player.
Very good player, yeah. How do 2 gloves go in the Bahamas, though?
Now, that is a really good question that I haven't thought through.
No, it'd probably go well because it's quite humid.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
They activate.
How many
in the
gloves must he carry in his bag?
They activate.
They activate in the damp, yeah. So how
many gloves is he
gloves?
carrying?
Don't know.
6?
But
They-
then that's
they-
got to be a heavy golf bag in the rain because he's a big waterproof guy.
Yeah.
Iron covers get heavier when they're wet. Plus,
He's
all
a real
the gloves.
cover-up guy, a real Victorian in there. Everything's got to be covered up.
Well, everything's sort of sweat wicking as well. I think he's
Yeah.
big into sweat wicking
He's
material.
big technology guy. Like he'd tell you all about it.
If it wasn't golf, it would have been fabric.
Yeah.
Just discovering what the best wicking fabrics you can find.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to go with Jason Day. I was pretty impressed with what he did at Royal Queensland, and
He does look to be back, doesn't he?
he
Properly
definitely
back.
looks to be back.
Properly
And
back.
when you look at this field, Scotty Scheffler stands out, but Scotty Scheffler's been away from it for a while, and I'm imagining hasn't been playing a lot of golf with a new baby as well, despite the perspective he's got. I think Jason Day is my tip there.
I've got anybody who's been through Thanksgiving last week. I think it's they're going to be no good. That's my and Jason Day. I'm including in that. So
Yeah, he would have been a Thanksgiving partaker.
Oh, in Ohio, it'd be
Yeah.
big in Ohio, thanks.
You don't bounce back well from a meal that big.
no, that's right.
No.
So that's
no.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't get the sense Jason would be like that. Mark
Hence
Leishman
my
told me once that
big pick.
he'd seen Jason when he was world number 1 at parties. He'd say no to a second beer because I remember Leishman saying to me, "Yeah, I'm not that guy. I've seen what it takes to get to the very top." And
Jason Day said in Brisbane, when he was world number 1, he didn't have a can of Coke for 2 years.
I'd believe it.
Like he just, and everything was just whatever.
Everything was.
But there's a bit of Jason Day there that's still a boy from Bow Desert, where they said, "What are you looking forward to most?" He said, "KFC. KFC in Australia is way better than KFC in America."
Really?
Is that right?
So he was headed straight there.
2 surprises there. 1, that he eeats KFC, and 2, that it's better here than America.
And then we saw Fatty Vorton when we were walking through doing something and reminiscing on the old footy show. So there's a lot
Did he
of
retire
still.
at the weekend?
Pardon me? He did.
Did he retire at the weekend?
He was telling us that last week at Queensland. But anyway, so Jason, for me,
Your golf ball is the most technologically advanced, or it's not. Your golf ball is either the most consistent, or it's not. It's the most trusted, or it's not. The fact is, it's either Titleist, the best performing golf ball in the world, or it's not. Prove it for yourself. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf. What will you play?
on we go to South Africa and the Nedbank Golf Challenge, which Logue has a query around the actual tournament name, but Rod is going to be our expert here.
Well, I think it's only the Nedbank Golf Challenge. What did you say it was?
On their website, it says in honour of Gary Player.
On the Nedbank tournament website.
Yes.
So Nedbank themselves.
They're going rogue because it's not on the DP World Tour.
That's a sponsor taking liberties. They're going to need to be brought back into line.
Nedbank Golf Challenge in honour of Gary Player.
Well, it's played at the Gary Player Country Club in Sun City, always has been.
Well, it goes without saying that it's in honour of Gary Player.
It's at his golf course, that's true. First played in 1981. 1987 was the first tournament in the world to offer $1 million first prize, which sort of seems quaint now, doesn't it? Oh, he won $1 million. Yeah, it could have been a secondary tour event. It's sort of changed so much. But I really did it to maybe beg the question. You touched on it there, Logue, about interesting formats. When this tournament first started, I imagine you remember it, Logue, and through the 90s and the 2000s, it was this huge deal every year, this Nedbank Challenge, because it was different. Listen to the first field that they had. Where have we got? I had it down here. Okay. The first field was 5 players. Seve, Johnny Miller, Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player and Lee Trevino.
Wow.
Can you imagine recreating that in the modern era? Pick 5 players like that?
John Morse, unlucky to miss out.
Briggs Johnston.
Yeah, he missed out just, I think, that year.
But it's now a 72-hole stroke play event of a smaller but standard kind of European tour field. And it feels like it's lost something with that. What happened to those? What would happen if we tried to bring back exhibition golf, do you reckon?
Well, it's taken a different form these days with like the match and stuff. That's I think that's everybody's idea of exhibition golf.
Everything's TV now instead of sort of at the course events, which were the ones that were so just interesting.
I yearn for something that's divorced a little bit from gambling, but it's interesting format, but then edited down to a nice tight package,
watchable.
Like the celebrity challenges that Peter Alice did or something like that, where it's edited down to a great product.
Shell's Wonderful World of Golf.
Yeah, it's a proper package, not just a camera rolling on people doing whatever they're doing.
Obviously it can't be live to do that, where the gambling is a driving factor. So it doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, it's hard to circle that square.
Woosnam won the first one that was $1 million first prize, and it was actually winner take all, 1987. The whole purse was $1 million, the winner got the lot. But they did.
I'm going to suggest they got something else to.
They did indeed. There was prizes for the best score of each round over the 4 days. If you shot the lowest score, you won it. So yes, pros aren't turning up to risk not being paid.
Yes,
but that was the deal. The $1 million first prize was the winner takes all idea. It's just an interesting idea. We haven't seen anything like that for so long, and it was interesting that you just pointed it out as well. It's got
what I'd like to see, Rod, as a format is put the winner in one of those Perspex cases with a blower, and they've got to grab as much money as
the purse is whatever you can collect.
Key is to always roll yourself in honey before you get into one of those.
Well, Aaron Rye would have the advantage here because he'd know what fabrics sort of work best. That's a good idea. Roll yourself in honey. Release the bees.
There's just something undignified about that, which I think I'd find incredibly charming.
Well, when Kari Webb won that first ADT challenge for $1 million, they
it was in a big Perspex box.
Yeah, Lorena Ochoa had one as well, the big box, but
had a lock on it, a padlock on it.
But this is one of those things like in the movies, the showcase of the briefcase with $100,000. When you get that much cash, it actually doesn't work out to be a big. So I think
what notes you use.
The Perspex case must have just had them stuck to the outside.
All right, so they just chopped it up.
Would have been
$1 million is like about a foot high and a foot wide. That's fantastic. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
they make a big show of 5 people carrying it in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
there's something about that, isn't there? That doesn't.
Yeah,
I don't know. Right. It lacks a bit of class. So Gary Player Country Club, very difficult golf course, particularly off the back tees. They played it here every year since its inception. It's not my kind of golf course necessarily, but it generally produces good scoring. So for that, the field is 62 or 66 players. I counted 62, but it says 66.
66. The idea is it's 66 for $6 million because Clate's put it in his column yesterday for Golf Australia.
Yeah, 62. I counted the field. I could only count 62, but that doesn't mean that I didn't miss some, which is quite possible. And some interesting names there. Max Homar's defending, and he's come back. Will Zalatoris, Corey Connors, both from the PGA Tour. There's a few PGA Tour players on here. Elvis Smiley gets a spot, as does Riggs Johnston, for being winners. So that's a huge deal for Elvis. What a turnaround. I know everybody said it, but 6 weeks ago he was, batting away on the PGA Challenger of Australasia Tour as he had done for you. Now he's in South Africa playing for $6 million. So
if you're good enough, you'll
find your way there.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Agreed.
right. It's absolutely true. And there's no question he's good enough.
When do we start questioning Elvis's commitment to playing at home, given he's not playing the Vic PGA? He's playing Nedbank.
Today. Today is when we start.
I think you just did.
Making very clear. Making very clear that's a joke. So Liz Smiley, don't be mean to me next time I see you.
Do not want to upset Liz.
No, I do not.
I've really enjoyed watching the Elvis. Are we agreed that he's the story of the summer?
Oh, absolutely.
It really is
absolutely
the story of the summer. Fantastic to see. So best of luck to him. Tip, I really can't pick. There's 2 Højgaards in the field. Normally I'd go with one of those, but I won't because you have that reaction, and I'm going to wander out to left field and go with Mackenzie Hughes.
Nice.
Okay, I didn't see that.
No, you wouldn't have.
No one saw that.
Nope.
Not even Mackenzie Hughes.
Exactly.
Nice. I like that. Loke?
I was quite impressed. Well, I saw this guy play at the Asia Pacific Amateur just before he turned pro, and I was quite impressed again with him last week. So I'm going to pick him for this. I think it's not long before he has a significant win, and it could be this week. Wenyi Ding.
The Dinger.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Really good player.
Yeah, very good player. Yeah, okay. I like that. I'm going to go far less left of field while I try and work out the field number. I'm trying to game the system so we can get an answer there, but I haven't quite successfully done that yet. And I'm going to go with Max Homer. Max Homer is an elite ball striker, an elite player, and it's good to see him go and play somewhere else.
Yeah,
it's
great.
nice.
Would have had Thanksgiving last week.
Yeah, but
You recover on the plane, though.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
sleep like a python and just digest it. When you get to the other end, it's all done.
And I don't reckon he was sitting in 56D either, so I reckon he was stretched out. He's
Spread out, you think?
yeah, the areas where you normally sit on planes, Logue, I think are pretty relaxing, and you can sort of...
He's not sitting with his knees under his armpits like the rest of us.
Right.
He's up the front, stretched out and having a champagne. Best of luck to him.
We go to our final event of the week and the final event of the Asian Tour season, the PIF Saudi International powered by SoftBank Investment Advisors, Rod.
I don't think we need a sponsor watch. I think we know Public Investment Fund, and I think I didn't look into it. I assume SoftBank Investments is one of their subsidiaries or an arm of their company. They'll be in finance, Jimmy.
We'll run with it. We'll go.
It'll be something pretty generic.
Exactly. If you were to have a look at their mission statement, you can imagine the word salad. That it would be $5 million purses, biggest purses they're playing in Saudi Arabia at Riyadh Golf Courses, which is actually just one golf course. So they've announced
their I can imagine.
They've announced their intent with the naming of the course. They haven't completed it yet, so it's just golf courses, but there's one course there. Can't find who designed this. It's really flat, the golf course.
I imagine it's at -1 Sahali elevation as well.
You can't even talk about Sahali in this area. It's not allowed. It's banned because it's too upsetting. Really, really flat. No trees. The odd palm tree that's been stuck on fairways and that. So it's just somewhat
always
unusual.
Perennially looks under construction. These courses in Saudi Arabia. They just look like a construction zone.
And just the desert doesn't look like – to me, it's never looked like the right place for golf courses. I've never taken to the desert golf. I think it looks out of place. But anyway, for all that, the pros tend to quite like it. The scoring tends to be pretty good. It's wide, lots of width, fair bit short grass around the greens. Paspalum grass, I think, is the most common grass there, so it's unusual.
Yeah, it's a very hearty grass.
Yeah, it can deal with salt and sand and lots of dry and not much water and those kinds of things. So, look, there's some big names. A lot of I think 40 of the live players are playing. Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, Tyrrell Hatton, Patrick Reed. You can imagine those sorts of names, along with all the top players from the Live Tour, because, of course, the International Series is the last of the International Series events, has its own separate order of merit, which I thought John Catlin had in the bag. I've mistakenly been saying that for weeks. In fact, it was the order of merit, which he wrapped up last week. He couldn't be beaten in, so that's my fault. Peter Urline's actually gone to the top of that standing now after winning last week. Catlin is in second, having led all the way. Ben Campbell third. Realistically, it's probably out of those three, but there's a lot of points on offer in that whole International Series this week. So we could
kiss of death on Richard Lee last week. So.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily, but it will make for some really interesting golf amongst those players. That's a lot to play for. If you get a ticket to the Live Tour, what's that worth? It's got to be guaranteed a couple of million before you even hit a shot. So if you're a professional golfer, that sounds pretty good. I got no idea.
Half a dozen or so Saudi players again.
Yes, which is important. It's good.
The invite list of this one is quite a fascinating one.
It's quite long too.
Led by our man, the Barn Rat,
Yes.
who last week
Played
saw
well.
me, smiled, and gave me a fist pump while I was doing radio and had a big smile. That made my week.
Talk about opposite ends of the spectrum, Jimmy. You and the Barn Rat. If you both walked into a gym, you'd be getting very different workout routines, don't you think?
Similar passions in life.
Jimmy's a little taller and quite slender for those who perhaps don't know what he looks like.
But like Ryan Moore, Norman Jong,
Norman Jong, I saw that.
There's some remarkable ones in there.
You wonder what role some of those invites might be playing in potential future Live players and negotiations. Live have been very smart about the top amateurs and young pros who might go on to become something and grab
just having conversations, I think, is the main thing.
Keeping them open there, exactly.
Absolutely.
So,
And the Australians, that is some bit of travel for Cam and Leishman and Lucas, and we got 3 from the tour here. Daniel
Neiman as well.
Daniel Gale, Brett Coletta, Jack Carter are all going over
14
as well.
hours or something, isn't it?
It's a fair old trip.
Is it to Saudi Arabia? How long does it take to get there on a plane? I've got no idea where it is. I couldn't point to it on a map.
It's one hop, isn't it? 14 hours.
I don't know if you do a one hop there.
Oh, maybe not.
I don't think there would be a direct flight, so I think there'd be a bit of changing and whatnot. But
anyway.
big couple of weeks and then going there and then likely coming home for Christmas is for...
It's a pretty blistering end of the season, isn't it, this part of the year for sort of the Australian players? That is a lot of travel, you're right. You know, even just within Australia, it's bad enough. Anyway, I don't know who's going to win, but I'm going to pick Dustin Johnson because he's won it twice before, so he obviously likes the Riyadh golf course, and he's probably, along with Cam, the most obvious high-profile and best credentialed player in the field.
Yep. Loke?
Well, I don't know if you were listening to me before, but he would have had Thanksgiving last week, so I don't know. It's
Dustin
clearly
does
not
4
factoring
workouts
that.
a day. He's already over it.
I don't know if he does anymore. Anyway.
Oh, you don't think so?
No, I'm not so sure.
Are you questioning his commitment to the game?
Perhaps. I don't know. I thought about, talk about commitment to the game. Joachim Neiman was in sensation. He's not my pick. He's my thought about pick. But how good did he look last week?
First day he didn't look that great.
No, but man, he hits the ball so well.
Yeah, to watch.
Yeah.
He's a much better player to watch than you might think from seeing
absolutely.
on
Such a
TV.
clean hitter.
Beautiful.
Really. And just impressive, really obviously trying very hard at his game. He's one of those players who is very motivated, I think, by the whole Live thing.
Like all the blokes out there just getting by on their laurels.
No, that's right.
He's kidding, but I know what you mean.
He's right into it. Like you talked about wanting to win for the team last week and everything.
That Jason Day attitude.
All a little bit
no Coke for 2 years because it might be better for your game somewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, Joachim, I'm impressed with him more so than I was after seeing him win even here. I think.
I think the course has allowed
still
his style
super
of play to shine more.
Perhaps, I don't know. Yeah, I'm a big fan. That said, he's just my thought about pick. My actual pick is Tyrrell Corporation, Tyrrell Hatton.
Of course it is.
So, we haven't gelled this year, Tyrrell and I. We just haven't quite been on song the same week. And this could be it. I'm just giving him one last chance this year.
He's on the Ferguson list
For this year. No, I'll come back to Tyrrell Corporation.
I don't think having met you both, you would gel in person either, to be honest.
Sure we wouldn't.
I don't think there's quite a natural fit there. You're probably much more a Ewan Ferguson kind of a guy, which probably, I hope, upsets you deeply.
Yeah, stuff that.
Despite talking about how long the flight is and everything like that, I was so impressed by Mark Leishman's golf the last 2 weeks. He's going to win something soon.
Agreed. I watched the PGA and I thought he didn't hole a putt Sunday.
Yeah. No. To use Logue's metric, no Thanksgiving because he's been on the road playing in Australia. He's going to probably head home and have a delayed Thanksgiving in America after this week.
Yep.
Leash loves a feed.
He'd be full of pies too.
He'll be thinking about it going, end of this week, get my Thanksgiving feed. Nice. So I think he's ready to go. So
call a lot.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, that will just about do us for, I think I said, episode 92. I did. Rod, any more ambience going to be added to the studio this week before we close up next week? Because to paint a picture, we got plants, one looking less good than others.
Well, I must water that. Good.
We've got a little lamp. The lamp's cute. The lamp is
it's
cute.
It's a lamp. What is wrong with you,
It's just a nice little
it's
accent.
It's black. It matches with the cabinets and then it lights. It's beautiful. Anything else on the horizon?
Don't know. Over the Christmas break, I'm going to rewire everything on this table, which is a disaster. So it'll get fixed.
Treat. I can't wait for that.
That will be great. And maybe clear out the padding on the so we don't lose a knee.
Where I sit up here, I don't have a problem with bashing my knees. You know, I built a little box under the table for those I know. It's right in the knee line for Jimmy Lowe. A lot of the other
edges
kids.
too. It couldn't be more
right
targeted
on the corner.
at knees.
Our great great mate Brendan James has just had a knee replacement, and I believe he says it was because of the box under this table. He came in one day and then he was straight to the doctor.
Well, given that he's trouble with the stairs over the last year or two, unlikely he's been up here, Jimmy, because there's 2 sets to get here. I actually spoke to him. Yes, anybody who knows. But
I did speak to him as well. Yeah.
He sounded really good after.
He's going great, apparently, so good luck for the rest of that, BJ. Low.
Already complaining about the food. That's it. The big man's on the mend
He's
already.
actually telling me about how he's thinking about trying to work his golf swing to go with the Yarny Seng hinge early and turn, and thinking about how that can help him. So I think the recovery is on a very good path for the big man. So good luck with the rest of that. Log, any wandering down any other places you don't belong this week like you did last week? Or
No, I've got a very banal week planned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's
nothing. I might enjoy a spaghetti jaffle after this.
Yeah,
that's probably going to be the highlight. That'll be the peak moment for
That'll
me
be the peak moment. I'm going to do that and then quickly go to Bondi Golf Club. So I'm going to have a great morning this morning. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week, and you can follow all the action on the Golf Australia magazine website, golfaustralia.com.au, and we will be back next week on Playing from the Tips.